So last year, most of us probably remember when, out of nowhere, Nintendo and Shigeru Miyamoto himself actually revealed that they were working on Pikmin 4, and at that time, the game was apparently almost done. It was a really crazy announcement, it was a really exciting time, and it got a lot of Nintendo and Pikmin fans super pumped, myself included, because let's get down to business. Pikmin 3 is easily one of the best games on the Wii U. It's one of my favorite games, I should say. And I dabbled in Pikmin's 1 and 2 and really enjoyed them on the GameCube. I was working for GameStop at the time, and I remember when they were a fairly big deal, and it was cool to have a new Nintendo property come out of nowhere at that time. They were pretty good games, but I didn't get super deep into them. For Pikmin 3, I was really excited because it was within that first year of the launch of the Wii U, this new next-generation touchscreen controller system from Nintendo that I thought was a great machine at that time, and I was so pumped for what Pikmin 3 was going to be. And it was much better than my pretty high expectations at that time. I mean, it's a really special game. To this day, I personally think it's one of the best-looking games we've seen of the generation so far. Of any machine, of any console or PC game, and I know that there are some really beautiful games out there that are better looking, sure, but I think Pikmin 3 looks that good, and it's in that conversation of the top 5 or top 10 best looking games, and that's a pretty monumental achievement when you consider not only the Wii U being weaker hardware compared to the competition, but also the fact that it started off as a Wii game. So, love for Pikmin 3 aside, when we look at Pikmin 4 and the fact that we had this game announced last year, it was super exciting, and this was right before we got into the really heavy build-up and rumor searching and rumblings about the NX itself. When you look at what's happening with that game, it's easy to wonder, hey, what the heck happened to that game? You said it was almost done when we hadn't even heard about it, we didn't know it was being made or worked on, we hadn't seen screenshots or videos or trailers or anything about the game. Where is this game? When is it going to be coming out? Now, we do live in this time where we know that the Wii U is kind of being phased out by Nintendo. We know that the NX is coming and looming right around the corner. We're going to see it sometime soon in the next couple of months. And we know that it's supposed to come out in March next year, which is like 7-8 months from now. So what's going on with Pikmin 4? Was it going to release as a Wii U game? Was it going to become a Nintendo NX game? Was it going to get a dual launch like what now Zelda Breath of the Wild is going to be? We've all discussed these things. I've made a video or two about it as well, kind of discussing my theories. And there was a time where I thought and hoped that it was going to be a Wii game or Wii U game, and it was going to kind of finish out this generation, the Wii U's life, and hopefully end fairly strong and be a really great game, or even have a dual release, which is something that I randomly, for some reason with Pikmin 4, I think would actually be kind of cool, and I would like that idea to happen. We now know that's not happening, so in all likelihood, with like 98.7% certainty, we can probably all say, okay, Pikmin 4 will be an NX title. And honestly, that's really exciting. I think that it's going to help the game be that much better and that much more exciting, that much prettier, and who knows what's going on with the controller and stuff. But the real question is, what Miyamoto recently came out and said about the game, where he said that Pikmin 4, how did he word it? I think he said it had fallen off the list of priorities. We're still working on the game. Yes, it's in a phase that's close to completion, but right now it's fallen off the list of priorities, and we'll be touching more on it soon. And interesting quotes from someone who I think a year or maybe just over a year ago said the game was nearing completion. So what happened with Pikmin 4? Honestly, what I think happened is it was going to be a Wii U game, and within this last year and a half or so, 18 or so months, Nintendo obviously realized, okay, there's a lot less we're going to be doing with the Wii U and a lot more we need to start doing with the NX. I made a whole video discussing what could be happening there, where it's entirely possible that the Wii U's failure by the second or third year or so, once we hit those marks, Nintendo would realize a lot of the projects and hopes and dreams and game releases that they probably intended to have on the Wii U needed to start shifting to the NX to make the NX a console with a great library, a lot of support from Nintendo and hopefully third parties, and have a very strong launch lineup and a very strong first year. I think that they're also working not only to have a good launch, you guys, but to have a really solid, impactful first year. They want to avoid the drought that most systems run into, which does include the Wii U. The Wii U had a very big drought for the first 8 or 9 months or so, and I think that they learned that that's very damaging, and they want to avoid that, so I think that there's quite a few projects that would have been coming out on the Wii U, Pikmin 4 included, that they're now going to use to pepper out and fill out the first year or so of the console's life cycle. Because for all we know, if Pikmin 4 is that close to being complete, I mean, why wouldn't it just be announced as a launch title for the NX? Which, granted, it still may be. We don't know yet. I'm just theorizing. But I have a feeling it won't be a launch title for the NX. And I have a feeling it's one of these games where, it's pretty complete, but we think it's strategic to release it here, September 2017 or February 2018, in that first year. Maybe that's what they're looking at doing. And some of these projects that would have otherwise been ready and we would have already known about or had released, they might be holding on to some to release them in a more strategic time, having moved them to the NX. Just a theory, and it might not be as deep as what I'm kind of saying here, but I think that there could be some truth to it. With Pikmin 4 specifically, I think we're running into a scenario where when you look at what Pikmin 3 did and how that game controlled using the gamepad, the touchscreen, the Wii remote, motion control, all these different things to control that game in a variety of different ways, which to me helped make that game so good, and I'm so sad that damn Wii U is dying in the game. I love the gamepad, and I hate that it's going to be going away. Anyway, so when you look at how Pikmin 3 controlled, and the fact that it relied very heavily on Nintendo's unique control schemes and unique controllers, and then we don't know, but we're starting to assume, and it's starting to look like there's less of a goofy controller idea happening with the NX than we initially thought. The Zelda Breath of the Wild info makes us feel like there's no gamepad, there's no second screen touchscreen experience for the NX, and that something like the gamepad won't be backwards compatible with the NX. So we're starting to feel like that's probably the case. Whatever the Nintendo NX does that's unique to Nintendo, it doesn't sound like it's going to be a controller, and we're probably going to have more of a standard controller. Again, not fact, just a theory and a guess based on other pieces of news we've had. So if in fact that's true, let's take a look at what might be happening with Pikmin 4, the direct sequel to the very gamepad and Wii remote-centric Pikmin 3. If Pikmin 4 was initially going to be a Wii U game, it was probably going to borrow a lot of the control schemes that Pikmin 3 had. So there was probably a lot of gamepad usage, touchscreen, motion gaming, Wii remote pointer gaming. I mean, all of these things were probably built into the game and a huge part of how the game was meant to play. Now, if Nintendo has decided, well, we're not going to release it on the Wii U, we're going to have to move it to the NX, maybe for launch, maybe for the first launch year. But, oh man, we can't use the gamepad on the NX, and the NX doesn't have a touchscreen or a second screen ability and doesn't use the Wii remote, so there's a lot of things that Pikmin 4 was supposed to do that now we can't do if we move it to the NX, so what do we do? So this is where I have a little bit of a conspiracy theory that when Miyamoto says the game has fallen off the list of priorities, quotes, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that what it means is they have or are in the process of retooling the game to work with whatever controller the NX is supposed to use, remove some of the gamepad and Wii remote functions that the game probably initially would have had, and that they're just kind of now waiting to release and announce and show that game as the new NX version that it's supposed to be. And obviously what we could also hope is they're going to maybe bump up the visuals and make it look more appropriate for this new more powerful hardware that we know the NX is going to be, which again is super exciting because you heard me talk about how great I thought a first year Wii U Pikmin 3 looked. That was initially even a Wii game of all things, and it looked so good. And if you think of, imagine Pikmin 4 being built on the Wii U hardware, not the Wii, but the Wii U hardware, and then also now getting the bump up to the NX, and obviously Miyamoto and Nintendo can work magic with that engine and that world and that art and graphical style for Pikmin. I expect it to look really fabulous if it's going to be coming out on the NX. But also, it's that control scheme, man. I think that's the heart of what's going on with Pikmin 4. I don't think that they've stopped paying attention to it or working on it or counting on it to be an important game for them. That would be insane, especially because that series is Miyamoto's baby. He cares about it. We've seen how much he cared about Star Fox Zero. He almost loved the game to death, unfortunately. I like the game so very much, but obviously there was things that prevented it from being a hit, and I can agree with some people's complaints about it, even though I still absolutely love the game. He almost loved that game to death, and so you have to feel like he's taking the same level of passion for Pikmin and Pikmin 4, and he's not just like, oh, I'll just put it on the shelf, and, I'll get to it when I care about it or whatever. He probably thinks about it all the freaking time. So I think Nintendo's paying attention to Pikmin 4, and they're just waiting. They're trying to figure out the best thing to do with it, the best time to release it, the correct platform. It has the right control scheme, and it's going to be a big hit for them. And I think that that's probably what's happening, and we're not going to hear about it. I mean, we've... Okay, we may hear about it when they actually reveal the NX in a couple months or whatever happens there. It may be one of the games they announce when they finally show the system off. But I feel more like we're going to see the game announced later. Maybe that first E3 after, next year's E3 after the NX is launched. Maybe closer to the NX launch, they announce it for later down the road. I mean, I don't even know. It's just good to know they're making it. At the end of the day, and wrapping up, it's good to know they're making it. I'm glad the Pikmin series is continuing. Pikmin 3, I think, was enough of a hit. It was very well received by critics and by by gamers, and I think it sold like around 1 million or a little over 1 million. So it was definitely like enough of a hit. So there's an audience and a market for Pikmin, and I think that Pikmin 4 could be a great game to help sell the NX early on and be this awesome exclusive Nintendo IP that could either launch or come out in the first half year to a year. But I don't know. Tell me what you guys think about my theory. Do you think that Nintendo's decision to probably move Pikmin 4 from the Wii U to the NX and maybe having to change the control scheme is what's kind of shifted around the date and their plans with this game? And it's not so much that it's not a priority for them as it is that they're just waiting to strategically announce and release this game when it makes the most sense. Tell me what you think about that below. Are you excited for Pikmin 4 or not? What do you think it's gonna, what piece of the puzzle do you think it's gonna play for the weird, kooky Nintendo NX and all these great things? Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Robert Rule 2 Review, and I'll catch you guys next time on another video.